you watched him play. I never got a chance to watch him play, but Frank Mahovlich became
Yeah.
the fifth NHL player at the time to score 500 career goals. Honestly, Howie, nobody talks about Frank Mahovlich anymore, which is too bad.
Yeah.
You talk about great NHL players, great ambassadors to the game, but Frank Mahovlich, had this amazing honor, becoming only the fifth player at the time to do it. If you could give your thoughts, I know you're a big Habs fan, and you got to watch him play just on Frank Mahovlich.
I got to meet him last year or the year before. My son and I were at the card show at the near the airport here in Toronto, and Frank and Peter were there. They're both getting up there in age now, but and I think they were getting ready to leave. It was almost time for them to go, and we approached their table, and I have a picture that my brother drew. He drew it 1980. It's Peter Mahovlich scoring the winning goal in Game 2 of the Canada Russia series. And when Peter saw it, his eyes lit up. And I was talking to Frank, and Frank was telling us stories about growing up in Northern Ontario and making trips down south to go play, in places outside of Toronto and things like that. Just a wonderful, wonderful guy. Frank Mahovlich, you and I could do a show for about an hour on Frank Mahovlich and Punch Imlach and the way that Punch Imlach treated Mahovlich. It wasn't good. The way he treated his players, Carl Brewer, another one, drove Frank Mahovlich to depression and having to go into, to get treatment at a hospital and have a hospital stay because of the way that Imlach treated him. Imlach would feed stories to the media. The media would report them. The fans would get on Mahovlich, boo him because he was a big man at the time. He was a great talent, but it was always said or written or whispered that he's never putting out as much as he could. He's never playing to his potential, and it was really sad the way they drove him out of Toronto. Basically, they sent him to Detroit. And one night where I think it was the All-Star game in '67. It was in Toronto because Toronto, the way they did it back then, the other teams would play the winning Stanley Cup winning team. Toronto had won the cup in '67, so the following spring, all the GMs were together and they were all drinking. And one night, Stafford Smythe sold Mahovlich to Chicago for $1 million. His father, Conn Smythe, was livid at the time. You can't do this. You have to stop this trade. But it's already done. We've already agreed to it. It's already in paper. And he says, no, you have to stop it. And so, they ended up getting it reversed. But, the way that Mahovlich was treated in Toronto was an abomination. Frank Mahovlich was a great, great man he ended up being a senator in the Canadian Senate, serving that way. Just a great man and a great player and not, as you said, not given his due.